Once the golden couple of Hollywood, Kat Deeley and Patrick Kielty's love story had us all believing in fairy tales. But what if we told you their perfect romance wasn't as flawless as it seemed? From a jaw-dropping birthday flight to a quiet separation that shocked the world, this is the untold truth behind their split. Stay with us, because the secrets you're about to hear will change everything you thought you knew about this couple. Kat Deeley and Patrick Kielty seemed like a match made in heaven from the start. In 2002, television audiences were first introduced to them as co-hosts of the BBC talent show Fame Academy. The chemistry between the two was instant. It wasn't hard to see that there was something more between them than just professional respect. The playful glances, effortless banter, and the way they seemed to communicate with nothing more than a look. All these little moments made viewers believe that they were witnessing something special. At first, it didn't go any further than friendship. Kat and Patrick were both in other relationships, and although their chemistry was undeniable, timing just didn't work for them. For nearly a decade, they stayed friends, and their connection remained loyal and close, but strictly platonic. Little did the world know, a romantic spark was simmering just beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to ignite. That moment came in the form of one of the most romantic gestures in modern celebrity history: Patrick's birthday flight. One day, Kat casually mentioned that she was having a birthday lunch in Los Angeles. Patrick, who was still in Northern Ireland at the time, responded with a simple, "I'll be there." Kat didn't take him seriously at first. She assumed it was a joke, even jokingly telling him to go to bed since she thought he was drunk. But Patrick wasn't joking. He woke up early in the morning, caught a flight from Northern Ireland to London, connected to another flight to Los Angeles, and by 2 p.m., he was walking into the Beverly Hills Hotel just in time for lunch with Kat. She was shocked, impressed, and in her words said, "Oh, you're good." That single act of spontaneity and devotion was all it took to turn their friendship into a love story that would capture the hearts of many. In 2012, after years of shared moments and growing love, Kat and Patrick got married in a private ceremony in Rome. The wedding was a secretive, intimate affair, far from the public eye, with no paparazzi or flashing cameras. It was just the two of them, surrounded by their closest family and friends. This was a stark contrast to the usual Hollywood glamour that follows celebrity weddings. Kat and Patrick proved that love didn't need to be flashy to be real. It wasn't about grand gestures for the cameras. It was about something deeper, something that truly bonded them. Their move to Los Angeles marked the beginning of their life together as a married couple. They settled into a luxurious Beverly Hills mansion, a symbol of their success and newfound life in Hollywood. To outsiders, it looked like the dream. Kat became a household name in America, hosting the popular dance competition show So You Think You Can Dance. Her charm, wit, and effortless elegance made her a fan favorite. Patrick, meanwhile, continued to build his career, splitting his time between the UK and the US. It seemed like they had everything: fame, fortune, and a beautiful family. But as with many stories, the perfect exterior was not without its flaws. As Kat and Patrick's family grew with the birth of their sons, Milo and James, life in Los Angeles began to feel more complicated. Raising children in a city so far from their own families created a sense of isolation. They didn't have the support system that many others rely on: grandparents, cousins, lifelong friends, and that took a toll on them. The demands of their careers, combined with the pressures of raising a young family in a city as hectic as LA, made it difficult to find balance. Kat started to feel the strain. She admitted in interviews that living in Los Angeles had become really hard. What once felt like a city of opportunity now started to feel like a place of anxiety. There was the constant worry about safety, the unpredictable nature of public incidents, and the rising pressures of her own career. While Los Angeles offered endless opportunities, it was also a city full of noise, distractions, and overwhelming crowds. But what happened next would be the turning point in their lives. One day, while Patrick was out with their son Milo, they found themselves caught in a terrifying situation. They were at a shopping mall in LA when a gunman entered the premises. the entire mall went into lockdown. Stores closed and shoppers were ushered out through fire exits, not knowing if they would make it out safely. Patrick managed to call Kat, his voice calm but clearly trying to convey the urgency of the situation. At first, Kat thought it was a misunderstanding, or perhaps even a drill, but as she drove to meet them, the reality of the situation set in. Helicopters buzzed overhead, news vans were parked outside, and SWAT teams were on the ground. This was no drill. This was real, and it was terrifying. The danger wasn't just theoretical anymore. It had reached their doorstep. In Kat's words, it shook her to the core. The once glamorous city now felt unsafe. What had once been their dream home now seemed like a place full of danger. After the terrifying mall incident, they made a life-altering decision. Their once beautiful Beverly Hills mansion, which had been the picture of their success, was sold for $4.9 million. They decided to leave Los Angeles, the city that had been the backdrop for their lives, and return to the UK, where they hoped they could find peace and stability. This decision to leave LA marked the beginning of a new chapter in their lives, but little did they know. It would also be the beginning of a long journey of emotional and personal challenges that would eventually lead to their separation. After leaving Los Angeles, Kat and Patrick moved to the UK, hoping that the change of scenery would help them reconnect and find some peace. They settled into a new home in Hampstead, North London, purchasing a $4.9 million fixer-upper. The house was far from move-in ready, but it provided the opportunity to start fresh, to build a new life and new memories away from the glitz and glamour of Hollywood. It was meant to be a fresh start, a place where they could build a home that blended the best of both their worlds. While the renovation of their new home was underway, the pressures of their careers continued to grow. Kat, now one of the most well-known TV personalities in the UK, took on a prestigious role as the host of This Morning, one of the most coveted positions in British television. But this role came with its own set of challenges. Early mornings, long days of production meetings, and live broadcasts became part of her daily routine. It was a demanding job that took a lot of energy and time, leaving little room for anything else. Patrick's career was also booming. He landed a major role as the host of The Late Late Show in Ireland, which required him to spend significant time in both London and Dublin. The couple's work schedules, once aligned, were now pulling them in opposite directions. They were no longer the couple who would share everything. Instead, they were living separate lives, their careers keeping them apart more than ever. As time went on, the emotional distance between them grew. They were no longer sharing the same space, the same experiences. Kat even admitted in an interview that they often slept in separate bedrooms during the week due to their conflicting schedules. To her, it was a practical decision to ensure she got enough rest for her early mornings. But to fans, it felt like a sign that their relationship was beginning to crack. It was no longer just about work. It was about the emotional space growing between them. But it wasn't just the pressures of their careers that were straining their relationship. There were other factors at play, including the emotional toll of raising children while balancing high-profile careers. Despite their best efforts, cracks began to show in their marriage. Fans who had once admired their perfect relationship now saw a couple who seemed to be drifting apart. The couple that had once seemed inseparable now seemed worlds apart, both physically and emotionally. In 2023, Patrick's mother passed away, and the loss hit him hard. In the aftermath of her passing, something stood out. Kat was not there to support him. Fans quickly noticed her absence at the funeral, and speculation began to swirl. A spokesperson explained that Kat had stayed in London to care for their sons, who were also grieving. While this was understandable from a parenting perspective, many couldn't help but wonder why she wasn't there to comfort her husband during such a difficult time. It was a painful moment for both of them, and it marked a significant turning point in their relationship. The absence of Kat at such a pivotal moment seemed to symbolize the emotional divide that had been growing between them for some time. A few months after the funeral, Kat and Patrick quietly announced their separation. It wasn't a dramatic public breakup. It was a quiet realization that their marriage had run its course. They both agreed to part ways, but pledged to remain committed to their children, Milo and James. In the end, Kat and Patrick's relationship wasn't destroyed by scandal or a dramatic event. It was a slow unraveling, a gradual realization that love alone couldn't hold everything together. Their story may not have had the happy ending fans had hoped for, but what remained was their shared devotion to their children and the dignity with which they chose to part ways. Their journey together began with a grand romance, filled with spontaneous gestures and bold love. But as time passed, they realized that even the strongest love could be tested by the pressures of fame, family, and career. Their story is a reminder that relationships, no matter how perfect they seem, require constant effort, understanding, and support. Kat and Patrick may have separated, but they will always remain a part of each other's lives, united by their love for their children and the shared memories of their time together. Their story is far from over. It's simply a new chapter in their lives,